morning, good afternoon, wherever you are, whenever you happen to be listening. I am so excited to be spending the next hour with Kari Colman. She is the brand manager and operations manager at Hitchings Insurance in Findlay, Ohio. I was lucky enough to meet Kari last year in New Orleans at the Elevate event. And unfortunately, with everything that's been going on, we haven't been able to see each other one again since then. But I get to now be on camera with her, which I think this is like the first time we've been face to face since last March. So I'm excited to see you today. How are you doing?
Doing well, for all things considered. Things are going good.
Good. So how's life at the agency? What's the pandemic status in your community right now?
Yeah, well, everyone's gearing up to get back to school. So, going by those colors of the counties. But agency-wise, we've only had to shut our doors for a short period of time. Everyone's here working safely in our own little areas. Of course, wearing masks when needed, when customers are here, just for that extra safety measure. And we're just plugging away, getting through it, and making the most of it. Something we certainly can't control, but we can control our mindset. So we're just moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. So have you guys found that like things have been pretty stable from a business standpoint, or did you kind of have like a little bit of ebb and flow, especially when this whole thing started?
Yeah, we had a period that was a little bit slower, but it gave us a chance to kind of get to projects or connect with customers in a different way. So while our numbers or, sales, was probably down a little bit, it gave us time to kind of catch our breath and move in the right direction.
Yeah, there was definitely a lot of availability to kind of catch your breath. Even if you were trying to it felt like it was like this constant shifting status that we were all in. Mm-hmm. It still was like, okay, well, I'm going to have to actually sit down and think about this because I can't do it on the fly. It was kind of a weird situation where it was like, we do need to make decisions and we need to make them quickly, but we also have to do them very thoughtfully. And so I think there was much more thoughtful decision-making going on in agencies than we'd really given ourselves the time to do before.
Yeah, I would agree. And, things that we probably put on the back burner, like having the ability to work remotely. We've talked about it, but never actually had to act on that. So it forced us into that position. Something we may have to use from time to time, like, if my kid gets sick and I'm fine, having that ability to still be able to work from home, take care of them simultaneously rather than, having to take a personal day just to stay home and watch them sleep on the couch. So it allows for a lot more flexibility. And, we've implemented things internally that have been helpful and we continue to use, such as like weekly team huddles and, just pieces and parts that we might have been missing before that have made a difference. So.
Yeah. So speaking of working remotely, I think your journey of working remote with kiddos was pretty well documented on social media. I know I loved watching it and seeing all of the little helpers that you had throughout your day. So you're a mom of 4.
Yeah.
So how was like the homeschooling journey? Will you guys be going on that adventure again come, later this month or early next?
Yeah. So yes, 4 very independent little children at home, 2 girls, 2 boys, and the oldest is 7. So she'll be going into first grade. Our second, he's still in preschool, and the youngest 3 are all in daycare. So, which has been wonderful that that's restarted, but still, all those precautions and extra steps, extra added laundry, everything. But for not homeschooling, learning remotely.
Yeah.
Eric, my husband, he farms full time. He also drives bus for the local school. So thankfully he'll be at home, and we've already talked to Cora about, getting her schoolwork done in the morning so that hopefully by lunchtime, she'd be done for the day. And while I was thinking about ways to, adjust my schedule, possibly, because right now, the way it's set up is we're going to be going 2 days, off 3 days on a week. So hybrid schedule. I was planning on working long days when she was in school and shorter days when she was home. But in talking to Eric, he said, well, I can help her. So, which with the fluidity of farming and things not being quite as busy right now is very helpful. So, we're going to set up an area for her not to have any distractions and, buckle in and get through that work in the morning, and we'll see how it works.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing. I think if we've learned anything during all of this, it's like, we have to be flexible. We can make up all of the mandates in our heads that we want about how we think this should all be going or how it should be handled. And we're not decision makers at school levels and things like that. But I think the way that we choose to respond to it is just huge for our kids.
Yeah.
And I had this conversation with my daughter this morning, who is also 7. And she said, what if you had been 7 when the pandemic hit? And I was like, well, I mean, I would follow the rules. Your mom's a rule follower. And she's like, no, I mean, like, would you be upset? And I was like, oh yeah, I mean, it's okay to be upset. Like, I don't want you to ever think that you can't be disappointed and feel like you lost a little bit of your summer. And I mean, because this has been going on. Basically, Iowa shut down 2 days before her birthday. So she felt super ripped off that her birthday got canceled. And so we've had a lot of conversations about that. But it was very interesting to just kind of get her perspective on the whole situation.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Cora is a very social person. So, I mean, she loves the school environment and being around her teacher and friends and even the lunch ladies. I mean, she interacts with everyone. I don't know if she has a shy cell in her body, but from the hybrid standpoint, I'm glad at least they're going to get some of that. And my hope is that, our county stays healthy and we can get to a point where they're back 5 days a week. So, but you're right. Our perception and our take on it, they're watching everything. So if we're negative about it, that reflects on them. I personally would love to see 5 days, but like you said, we're not in those decision-making shoes, and you just talk about it personally as parents and then reflect the more positive to them. So.
Yeah. So I think it's been interesting because my kids are 13, 10, and 7. And so just what they found problematic was so different for each of them, but hers, it was definitely the socializing standpoint. But yeah, like Cora, she loved her teacher. She's like, I really liked my teacher. I didn't get to spend hardly any time with her. Like, I lost 2 months with my teacher. And I was like, oh man. And even when like all the teachers came by and like dropped off care packages at the end of the school year, and she couldn't even hug her teacher. Like there was definitely some heartbreak that we had to watch our kids go through as parents. And that's tough, but I like to believe that we're teaching them some level of resilience through all of it.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Yep. And they're probably going to handle it way better than we are as adults. I mean, be honest.
Maybe they're teaching us resilience.
Oh yeah. Right. Yeah. I think they do a good job without even knowing it, that they're teaching us life lessons.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, so your youngest is still very much a baby.
Yeah. She's 10 months old.
Oh my gosh. And is she walking? Did I catch that?
Not quite.
Not quite. Okay.
Standing independently, but no steps yet. So.
Oh gosh. Oh,
but into everything, and everything goes in her mouth. So on high alert all the time.
Oh my gosh. Oh yeah. Well, I think you are a brave mom. 4 kids under the age of 10 feels like that would be a lot for me. But yeah, I mean, I think that's, so it was like the girl, the boys are together, and then it's so nice. She gets to be mother hen when she's like at a good age to do that. So that's,
she can be very helpful or not so much.
So do they like farming? Like, do they like that
Yeah.
lifestyle? They're
Oh yeah.
outdoorsy. They like all of
Yeah,
that.
we're outdoorsy. I mean, if it's not, as long as it's not raining, we're outside, or bitterly cold. So, I mean, we have cattle. So like last night we packed up in the van after dinner and went to go do chores. And, my son's running a scoop shovel and, they're helping throw straw in. And I mean, it's all part of getting through it. If everybody helps, we get done faster. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And it's funny because I'm definitely a city girl, even though I've grown up in a pretty small town by most estimations. But well, how big is Findlay?
40,000.
Okay, so it's like 60 here. But but it's a very rural community. I mean, it's definitely a farming community. And so it's funny because like my whole life I've just gotten used to always being around agriculture. People drive four-wheelers and gators everywhere. It's a normal mode of transportation type of thing. But then when I talk to other people from like big cities about it, they're like, what? I'm like, oh, I mean, they're like, are there seatbelts? I'm like, some of them, there might be.
If you want to wear them.
But yeah, it is. I do wish sometimes that I was a little more, I don't know, like I knew how to my way around a farm, but I am very grateful for those that do. So thank you to you and your family for making sure
Yes, you're
the rest
welcome.
of us are taken care of.
Yes, it's definitely a way of life, but
Yeah.
we enjoy.
Yeah, I think you have to love it. I don't think
Mm.
you can kind of just be like, well, farming's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. It's a
Definitely.
commitment.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. So, shifting gears a little bit here, I am curious because I actually don't know your backstory at all. We've had just very brief, like very current interactions. Like we know our current state of life and what we do for a living and that kind of stuff. But how did you find your way into a marketing role at an insurance agency? Are you an Ohio native?
I am an Ohio native.
Okay.
Yep. So let's see, gosh, I graduated from high school in '02 and went to Ohio Northern, which is in Ada, Ohio, and started a career in pharmacy school.
Oh.
So I went there for 2 years and then wasn't quite like sold on being a pharmacist. So I transferred to Bowling Green State University and pursued a different passion in the sports world. So I got a degree in sport management and marketing, and then graduated from there and got an athletic director position right out of college. Along with that, I was also head volleyball coach. So I kind of bit off a lot right away. But I love the management, love the event type of arena. While I was at BG, I had the opportunity to work at 3 Super Bowls, which was really cool. Memories that will last a lifetime.
Yeah, no kidding.
So those were fun. Met a lot of cool people. Just worked the NFL experience, which is more geared toward the public because a lot of the tickets at the game are actually commercial. So after that, had some life changes personally, and my athletic director position wasn't full-time at the school, but I knew I needed to do that, like to pay my dues to possibly move forward to maybe a bigger Division I school or those sort of things. They just like to see experience. Anyway, life change happened socially, and decided like I have unfinished business at Ohio Northern and went back to pharmacy school. So I picked up where I left off and finished my doctorate of pharmacy. Got a job, worked 5 years in pharmacy, and then I was faced with some hurdles at an employer. Loved my position. I was working in a clinic. My hours were ideal. I was working, 8 to 5 Monday through Thursday, had Fridays off. At this time, my family was growing, but I was faced with a reduction in hours where I was going to be working for insurance benefits, basically, like no extra pay on top of that after I got done paying my insurance premiums. So had some ideas for growth, but they didn't agree with it, didn't align with it. So I decided to start looking for something else. And selfishly, I decided that weekends and holidays were very important to me with a family, and you couldn't put any price on that time with them. I worked one holiday, New Year's Day, in my pharmacy career at a hospital, and it was like New Year's Day. It's not that, I mean, it's on this lower side of the holiday importance, but I had a hard time. And it was then that I decided, like, once I have a family, I need to be there for holidays. So anyway, started looking because I would rather, be an advocate for myself rather than getting pushed out the door. So I reached out to Ryan, who's actually best friends with my husband. Just to see,
Explains the fishing photos.
Yeah, right.
All comes together.
Right. So reached out to him just to see, like, I don't know if there's an opportunity. My hours are getting cut. Maybe I could help on a part-time basis to kind of fill the gap. And he said, right now we're doing fine, but I'll let you know. So a few months pass, and then he reaches out to me and says, actually, I think we want to expand and hire someone to do marketing, and we have a retirement coming up. So wheels started turning, conversations started happening, and I made a career change. I took over for a lady that retired that was helping on the health insurance side, doing some admin work, and then they added the marketing responsibilities to that. So really a very fresh position, but they brought me on board, took a chance on a brand new, focus, and 2.5 years later, here I am.
Wow.
So, I don't know, all those weaves that have been woven in that web, but I think it all happens for a reason, and I haven't looked back for a day. So,
oh my gosh,
that's my career so far.
That's crazy. Oh my gosh, like, what a fascinating life that you've lived. You've had Super Bowl experience, which I can only dream of, but maybe someday I'll be an attendee waiting in line for the restroom with everybody else.
Right.
But then you have your pharmacology degree.
Yeah, doctorate of pharmacy. Yep, I still keep it up. It's been helpful actually on our benefits side because we meet with, Medicare patients and individual health patients, and when they have issues related to, pharmacy claims or picking out a prescription drug plan, and our, insurance professionals can't help or can't figure it out or need assistance, they call on their internal doctor to help. So,
Dr. Kari, do you go by doctor?
I mean, technically I could, but no, not at all.
I mean, if you want me to call you Dr. Kari from now on, I'll do it.
No.
No, it might change the dynamic in our friendship.
No, don't need it. Don't want it. It's fine.
That is so, funny side note, my dad always wanted me to be a pharmacist. I am not good at math or science.
Oh, yeah.
This is probably not going to end well for anybody. Either I'm just going to be crying and I'll find my way through it, then I'll hurt somebody because I don't know what I'm doing.
Right.
But
you would have got to organic chemistry and been like, no, thank you.
Whoa, no. I mean, I barely made it through pre-calc. So just not math minded or science minded at all. I like watching documentaries about that stuff. But that's about people that are geniuses in those fields. But I'm like, that'd be nice. Wow. So you reach out to Ryan, and if people don't know Ryan, they obviously just have not been in an event where Ryan is, because he's always the tallest guy in the room. He might be the tallest guy in insurance. I'd be curious to know.
Yeah.
I don't know how to find that out, but there's got to be a way.
Yeah, he's among the top 5 for sure.
For sure. When we were at this event, and he he wasn't in the photo. I'm like, everybody can tell he's not in the photo because we were going to have to like change the angle of the camera to accommodate
Right.
him with everybody else. I mean, yeah. So he's like, what is he, 6? What is he? 6'7"?
Yeah.
So my coworker's husband is 7 feet tall.
Wow.
I kind of want to get the two of them together now.
Yeah. You wouldn't have to do so much like neck work, right?
Yes. Yeah. What's it like having to look up to Ryan every single day?
No, I don't. He's usually at his desk and I just come in and say something real fast and back out.
Yeah. So he's sitting, you're standing. It's a much better arrangement.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had a coworker like that once. I was like, if you would just sit down, this conversation is going to be easier for both of us because he was just far too tall for me to have a real conversation with. So,
yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So that's just, it is. So I love hearing these backstories because there's never one, I feel like even if you were born into an agency, like your parents owned it, you didn't necessarily still take the same path, making that decision to work in insurance. And so yours was just like, wow, what a interesting sequence of careers and events that led you now to Hitchings, which is amazing. So oh my gosh, so how did you make that decision? Like, I'm just gonna reach out to the right, were you were hoping like any position was open, you weren't necessarily looking for something in particular when you reached out?
Yeah, I was just, at that point I wanted to keep what I was doing and kind of supplement it with something else. Now Ryan, he's best friends with my husband. I'm also have become very close with his wife. So, we were in each other's weddings and have just stayed really close friends. Eric and I are godparents to their oldest son. Like, it's a very,
you're like family.
Yeah, we're friends that have become family for sure. So in talking to her, I thought maybe there was a chance to help. And sometimes it's who you know, not what you know. It's a great example of it. So it was starting that conversation. And you never know when those opportunities may arise. But if you can, get your foot in the door or just make an impression, positive impression, sometimes those things come back to light at perfect times. So that's really all it was just actually, I think I talked to him at one of their boys' birthday parties at a jump house. We just had casual conversation and I was extremely honest about my position and said, hey, if you need any help, just let me know. So, I mean, all the things just aligned, stars aligned, and I was meant to be here.
Yeah, for sure. So, oh my gosh, I might have just lost my question, but, oh no, I was just going to say it's such a relationship driven industry. Like, there's no way you can look at it and get around it. And if you're not a relationship person on some level, you're probably not going to have a lot of success in insurance. Like, I look at like, my start was from a friend of a friend who I had met one time at a festival here in town. And she called and said, hey, can you drop your resume off? We have a position open. I think you'd be perfect. She met me once. I mean, and I ended up working with her for a few years, but I was like there was no rhyme or reason for that to happen, but certainly it was a perfect situation. And that was, 16 years ago almost. So yeah, I mean, I think that I was immediately introduced to the importance of relationships, and it just continues to be more and more apparent. Like, and now you're directly building relationships in your role. So, and now it's just you with the clients and prospects of Hitchings.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Oh my gosh. So did you feel like it was a significant adjustment for you, or was there a lot that you felt came naturally? Like, there were just certain things, like maybe you were able to call on your experience from your sports days and kind of bring that forward. Like, did you feel like there were some natural correlations?
Yeah. My minor, with sport management, I did have a minor in marketing, because a lot of the classes that I took, I was like, oh, if I take this many more, in marketing, I could just get a minor in it. So I feel like that information for sure was something I could directly use. Personally, I enjoy like event planning. I love creative type of, putting things together, birthday invitations, or, my mom's Christmas newsletter, or whatever that looked like. I 4-H camp way back in the day, like those things all just kind of came natural to me. And then I'm also a very process oriented person. So the operations piece, helping on the health side, keeping things, in line and check, like those qualities that I have just kind of helped with the transition.
Yeah. No kidding. Wow. I mean, because who knew you were gonna, wow. I mean, talk about building to this. Don't you ever like and I love this. I love it when you look back and you go, oh, I mean, I wasn't sure exactly why I was going to need that minor in marketing, but now I'm so glad that I have it. So,
yeah, exactly.
Oh my gosh, I love it. So, does Hitchings have like a focus, or do they kind of cover all lines, or like, do they have something specific that they do?
Yeah, I mean, we do commercial, personal lines, but what we really enjoy doing is agriculture. So we're, there's a lot of us that work in the farming community. Brock, who happens to be my brother-in-law, works here as well. So he's directly in the family farm. I'm in the farm. So just lots of that relatability, like being able to have a conversation with someone and that they're in it too. And when you use certain terminology, that person's not completely in the blind. So we really love the niche of farming and agriculture and, working with those people. So.
Yeah, you speak their language. It's very community oriented.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, obviously a natural fit, especially given your history and your background and what your family does. So yeah, what a perfect fit. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
So when you look back through all of this amazing experience that you've had, I just love it. This is just this. I'm like so fascinated right now by like, I'm like, let's talk about the Super Bowl. When you look back through all of this, what is one of the biggest lessons that you've learned in this journey?
That's a good question. I actually thought about it more, maybe 2 or 3. First of all, like one of my biggest things is celebrating others instead of comparing. Like that, it goes everywhere, like personal, and business wise. Like, why are we spending so much time comparing ourselves to someone else? Because our journeys are completely different, and we may have similarities, but at the end of the day, like, let's just celebrate people's wins and pick them up if they need picked up. My second one is, it's okay if life's journey is not a straight line, as you can tell. I did have, in the beginning, I had some like hesitation about sharing where I'd come from, just because it's like, I have a significant amount of education in my backpack, and I'm making a switch from a pharmacist to a marketing role. Like, that's kind of, at first I thought, how embarrassing, but now I'm like, it's all just part of it. Like, no one can take that education away from me. I still have my license. Like, it is what it is. And my husband always says everything happens for a reason. I really think it does. I met him when I was at Arcadia as an athletic director. So had I not gone to BG and then got that job, I would have never met him. So I agree with his thought process there.
Yeah.
And then my last thing is like, this may sound cliche, but like, don't let anybody dull your sparkle. There's a reason you're doing what you're doing. And if you have those internal values and it's important to you, who cares what anybody else says? So those are my big ones and I have to refocus sometimes. It's easy to let social media or your own thoughts get in the way. And I always have to bring myself back from time to time. Like, you're letting it, muddy the water. Remember what you're doing. So.
Yeah. I had this boss once. Now, I left insurance for a year and then I came back because, you know, I'm addicted to insurance. But after 9.5 years, maybe, I had stepped away for a year, but I had this boss during that year. So I made the decision to go back to the agency and I let him know. And he just kind of smirked at me and he was like, so you couldn't handle it, huh? You gotta go back to what's easiest for you. And I was like, I was so offended. I was like, no, I'm going back to what I love. Like, I can't believe you would even just assume that I couldn't cut it here. This isn't the right place for me. This isn't home.
Yeah.
And he was like, whatever. I'm like, I'm so glad that you and I are clearly like, we have different attitudes about career transitions. And, you know, he was thinking of it as a humiliating experience. And I was like, no, I'm actually seeking out what I feel the most passionate about.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, there are people out there that will try and dull your sparkle, but yeah, no, I think those are very, very, very good lessons. And I always laugh when I see Arcadia on your social posts, because there's a town which is not even close to here, but Arcadia, Wisconsin.
Oh.
They always have this big festival, and so every time I'm like, oh. So like you would post something and I would be in Arcadia, Wisconsin. I'm like, we're kind of in the same place, but not.
That's cool. Yeah.
Like, I wish. Are you here? Are you at the hot air balloons? Oh no, you're at the field.
Just in Finley, or close to Finley, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So, yeah. So I'm sure you've had all sorts of amazing influences in your life. I mean, just, you know, who has made a huge impact on you?
Yeah, that's a great question, and one that I can't look past my late grandpa. This would be my mom's father. I don't know any guy that was more stern, hardworking, but man, did he have a good time and people respected him. He's a family man. He loved farming. I wish my kids, you know, now could just experience his bear hugs, but also his, you know, deep voice. And when he meant business, you knew that he was serious. He had a dedication to the community, which I feel like was impressionable to me. People respected him. When he told a story, people listened. Like he just could grab people's attention and hold it. And then above all, like he just lived life to the fullest. So he worked hard. They had a dairy farm. He was part of the fire department. He was chief at one point. So he had his hands in a lot of different things, and a commitment to being a dairy farmer is huge. Like they didn't do a lot of things as a family because you milked at least twice a day, and you did it in the winter when you had to, you know, dig yourself out of your back door because the snow was drifted so high. But he was always down for a good time and a big laugh. And I'll never forget, like whenever we left, he would always hug me and tell me, keep doing good. And to me, that just, it sticks with me. We got bracelets made when he passed away, just as that reminder that, you know, we constantly made him proud. And as hard as he was, as tough as nails as he was, he had that soft spot in his heart. So he was definitely a big influence to me.
Yeah. And I love that. I was just talking about my grandpa yesterday. It's amazing because I feel like there was like this era, right, where these guys had these super tough exteriors, and they were hard workers. They were laborers. Like I think of my own grandpa and how hard he worked. And, but then it was like, and you didn't ever want to get in trouble with grandpa. You were like, no, like this isn't going to end well for me if I cross grandpa. Like you couldn't get anything past him. I don't know if your grandpa was the same way, but then it was like, even if you did get in trouble with him, like the discussion about the lesson afterwards was always like, well, now I can't, like, I want to be mad at you, but I can't be mad at you because you're hugging me and you're telling me that you still love me and why you had to, like, why there's punishment involved or why we're talking about, you know, it was like those soft moments, while they were few and far between, were just like, I remember so many of them. I look back at photos and I'm like, if he was really that hard of a guy, I probably wouldn't have like snuggled with him on the couch. You know, like he was like the quintessential grandpa, I felt like. So yeah, I love it. Absolutely. But yeah, grandparents are special people. It's hard to think, like, I was listening to this podcast and this guy's grandma is 102 years old.
Oh my gosh.
And so she's gotten to like watch so many generations come after her. And I'm like, oh gosh, I kind of wish everybody lived to be 102.
Yeah, right. If your quality of life is good and you're able to function, yes, that would be awesome.
Yeah. But I think it's hard to think about losing touch with everything that they represented. Cause it was a different generation, different mindset, different way of life. I mean, not that you weren't carrying on a lot of those things, but it was just a little bit different. And so, yeah, keeping all those memories alive, I think is pretty precious.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. Make me want to cry.
Oh.
So if you were to go back and give yourself a piece of advice, your younger self, what would it be?
Oh goodness. Learned a lot, after all these years. But I think one of the things that I would tell myself is to focus on symbiotic, and I'm bringing in my science terms here, but focus on symbiotic relationships that are mutual and not parasitic. Because how many times we have relationships where you're providing all of this for someone else's benefit? So, like a parasite. So they're gaining so much as they're taking life away from you. Whereas like a mutual relationship, you're in it together to advance forward. I think in high school, I know this was a fact, like people would make fun of me because I was studious, but also participated in athletics. But then they'd make fun of me, which was hurtful,
Yeah.
But then as soon as it came time for an assignment or a project, they were right by my side, knocking on my door, like, hey, Kari, can you help me? And I feel like, as adults, that can still happen. How many times are there relationships that aren't mutual and people only come to you when they need something? Not to say, like, my personality is I'll help anybody.
Yeah.
I can't push that aside. Like if they're coming to me for something, it means that I have a skill set that they need help with, and that's fine. I will continue to help them. But you can't help but like want to be maybe a friend, or, and people act in different ways that make you feel like excluded or maybe even talked about. I don't know. But I think those mutual relationships are so much more important than the parasitic ones. So.
Yeah. And when you say that, I think about, I'm not going to say anybody ever came to me for help with homework. Probably didn't happen. But when it's like you do it and like there's this voice in your head going, you're doing a lot of work here. You're giving a lot. But like for me, it was an approval seeking thing.
Right. Yeah.
So if I get, like, eventually we're going to be friends, or like there's going to be some sort of positive outcome here. Like it's going to be different than the last time. So yeah, I mean, I think it's hard to let go of that.
Right. Yeah. And being brave enough, or, just sticking up for yourself to say, hey, this is taking a lot of my time and I don't feel like it's happening the same way. I should be focusing my efforts on, I don't know, family or a different passion or whatever that happens to be. So.
Yeah, there's certainly a lot of power in saying like, hey, this isn't working for me. This is what I would, or just say like, this is what I would need in order for this to work.
Yeah. Or learning to say no, like, overcommitting. I'm definitely guilty of that, just because people, seek you out for help, like, sure, I'll do that and I'll do that. And before you know it, like I'm stressed out and not my best for my family because I've taken on all these responsibilities. So.
Yeah. I think one of the things that, and I heard it once and it stuck with me, and then I get reminders of this all the time. But if you're saying yes to one thing, you're saying no to something else. And so I've really had to, and I feel like it comes up all the time. Like if I say yes to doing this, what does this mean for my evening with my kids? Like I have to like do the addition and subtraction from my life. I mean, there's little things, and we make those little impulse decisions all day long. Like, okay, well, I'm going to do this, and maybe I'm not going to get to this. But there's also like an overriding thing that can happen that's much more impactful in our overall life if we just continue to do that and not really pay attention to the fact that we're doing it.
Yeah.
So
that's a great point. Yeah, for sure.
So but I just think it's like it all kind of like it all carries through, right? So so yeah. And as a mom of 4 and a wife and a helper on the family business and all of that kind of stuff, like you're called to make those decisions probably more often than like, I know I'm not always paying attention.
Yeah, I mean, it's not uncommon. Well, and things change, like on the farm, especially things change, the drop of a hat or whatever. You just got to go with the flow. And if you've already committed to something, especially during busy farming season, I kind of have to take a step back, like, wait a minute, what am I going to need to do? Because even if I'm not in the fields, someone still has to feed the people in the fields, or, be there if they need taken from one field to the next, or, going to get supplies or whatever that looks like. So especially during those times of the year, I have to be very mindful of what I'm saying yes to.
Yeah, absolutely. So as you've worked in all of these fascinating roles, and now you have this amazing agency that you get to go to work for every single day, and you found this perfect pairing, which I just absolutely love how your path led you here. How do we, and you took a gamble, right? You took a risk. You asked what's available, what can I do? Which I love it. And I know like Ryan was a safe person for you to ask. Absolutely. But you asked. There's friendship involved here, and that can be even tougher, I think, sometimes. Be like, okay, does this change the dynamic of our relationship?
Oh, right. And that was a big question, especially since me and Jacqueline are such good friends.
Yeah.
It's been very, I mean, we can completely separate the two, which has been awesome.
Yeah. So how do we get more women to take that chance, to ask the question, to take that next step? Because you've taken a lot of big leaps, really. Yeah. I mean, just fascinating leaps. But how do we encourage women to do that?
Oh, that's a really good question. I think it just boils down to like, what do you really want to do with your career, and not letting who you are, meaning male, female, get in your way. Like, let your past experiences, let your personality, or whatever skill set, speak for itself. And then if you do get that position, prove that you were meant for that you're willing to grow in whatever capacity. We talk about it a lot, like, what's the project, like, it's not just day-to-day stuff, but what are we going to do 5 years down the road? What are we doing 10 years down the road? And for me, I think it's important, like, if you're in a stagnant career and you're not happy with that, if you want to grow, like, don't even consider a position that you're going to have to stand still. If you want to break the glass ceiling, find an employer that is going to do things or already does things to make that happen.
Yeah.
So I think it's just, you have to empower yourself, find others in the industry that have been influential, and then kind of that's symbiotic relationship again, not that you're going to ride on their coattails, but ask them, how did you get here? Or, if there's no sense in recreating the wheel,
right,
find out what worked for them. And what I enjoy is, like, let's learn from each other's mistakes, because that got us where we are now.
Yeah.
But I think those things can help to, break into the industry or find out exactly where you want to be. Because if you, like, honestly, if you don't love your career and you're not passionate to go to work every day, you probably should be looking for something else. So, I mean, I have a hard time shutting my computer down at 4:00.
Yeah.
I'll get a phone call from Eric who says, "Hey, you off work yet?" I got one more thing to do. But I mean, there's so much going on, and you just lose track of time. I don't have enough hours in the day to get everything done. So
yeah. But you love it.
But I love it. I wake up the next day like raring to go again. So.
Yeah. And I think, I love that you bring that up. I mean, if what you're doing every day isn't sparking something inside of you, some sort of happiness, I mean, I think that it can be very easy. And I did this for a long time where I was like, well, I'm going to find my mojo in this role again. Like I'm obviously just going through something and I'm going to figure it out. But it wasn't happening, and I wasn't taking the time to really explore what that meant.
Mm-hmm.
And then when somebody else finally was like, I think you could do something else, I was like, could I? Oh, okay. But yeah, I mean, when you ignore those internal signals that like, hey, I'm not excited to go to work. I feel like I've kind of come to a screeching halt.
Mm-hmm.
Like, investigate those feelings. They're real.
Yeah. It's that whole like blinders on, just do what's in front of me. And even that, I know it's been a lot of talk in this industry, but it's that comfort level. If you're completely comfortable and you don't have to think twice about doing it, or, you're not being challenged, there's no growth in that. So I know Jeff Smith talks about this at the OIA a lot, like get comfortably being uncomfortable. And I challenge my people to that here at our team, like, because not only, and this is the part of my job that I love, is not only do I market to our prospects and leads and current customers and those who have left us in hopes that they come back, like I get to market to our people.
Mm-hmm.
I get to help challenge them. I get to help them advance and move forward and, dig into every skill that they have to make them better. And that's one thing that I really, really enjoy that.
Yeah. Which is incredible, because I don't know that every employer does that.
Yeah. I want to make sure that the people that we have who are rock stars, which is everyone on our team, like, I want to make sure they stay. I want to make sure they love what they're doing and that their life outside of coming to work matters and that we're paying attention. And, those life moments should be celebrated, like I mentioned before. So.
Yeah. Well, yeah, absolutely. And I think that it speaks a lot to who you are and what you've experienced, knowing that they need to be challenged, and that if things feel off in one part of your life, it's always going to intersect, right?
Yeah.
And so you're looking at your employees like holistically,
mm-hmm.
because there's no like line where it's like, oh, I'm no longer working and now I'm at home. Our lives are just, every aspect of it comes together.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and since we're with each other a bulk of the time, we notice when things are off, like, that something's going on. Maybe not here, but you can tell that at home, maybe there's stressors. Just not that they have to share everything, but knowing that they could if they needed to. And I think an additional part of that in challenging them is also letting them know how much we appreciate them.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I was lacking in my previous career. I felt like I was doing all of this stuff, going the extra mile to get, not that bonuses and gift cards are, that's not all appreciation, but rarely did I have someone come up and say, how's your day? Yeah. Thanks for doing what you do. And that goes a long, long way. So one of my main things with our team is like just letting people know, like, you are crushing it and we couldn't be more proud to have you on this team. So appreciate, and it can just be words. It really can.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, taking the time to even notice and then stop and say something is a big deal. And I think that it's easy to overlook that.
Mm-hmm. And people will be quiet until, they're to a point of unhappiness where
There's a problem. Yeah.
they're going to move on, and then they're going to knock on my door and say, hey, I have something to talk to you about. And then I'm like, oh gosh, I didn't even know, because I'm not, I don't ever want that disconnect.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So what does the future hold for Kari? What are you up to?
Yeah, that's a great question. I continue to wear lots of hats because, like, as I said, it was a brand new position in the marketing role, but we're learning quickly that I could solely do marketing and stay busy every single day.
Mm-hmm.
So on the health admin side, I'm transitioning someone else into that, which
nice.
Is very exciting. I'm looking forward to passing that along. But my goal here, and Ryan and I have talked about this along with Lee, the other owner, just really focusing on marketing and expanding there, hopefully grabbing a team where we can all work collectively, delegating some of the extra content pieces, but coming together and having kind of a lead in making sure it all happens, and then also focusing on the management side of things, as I enjoy the operations as well. But really, even though marketing isn't always looked at as, a revenue generating position, and people, meaning agency owners, may hesitate to go that direction, I think it's been very valuable for us in a lot of different regards, even just like centralizing where all the requests for donations come from. And, rather than two owners making decisions, now you have one collective person. And then, we have a brand guide. So one collective person or a team that just lives by that brand guide to make sure everything looks the same. So when people see our logo or see our name, they know exactly who we're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. Exposure.
I'm looking forward to that day where I can take off some of those hats and only wear a couple.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, then you get home and you have to put on a whole different set of hats. So
yeah, for sure.
Oh gosh. Okay. So final question. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. So if you got to play DJ for 5 minutes, you get to pick any song. Everybody do it. What are you playing? There's no rules. There's no rules about what song you choose, except that you have to choose a song.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm only going to say this because my brother-in-law made me an entire CD of this one song for Christmas one year as like a joke, but apple bottom jeans. It doesn't matter the lyrics or whatever, but I just love dancing, and I could be, I can have a good time no matter what the circumstance. And if music is playing and it's got a good beat, I'm probably doing a little dance to it.
Yeah.
So
I am with you 100%. I always thought, like, when I'm a mom, I'm going to be super serious but
my kids join in now.
Oh, yeah. Now I'm like, hey kids, you want to dance? And they're like, oh my God, mom's dancing again. Or in the grocery store. Could you please not do that?
Right. Dance party in the kitchen or wherever. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Oh my gosh. Well, I think it's amazing. I think that when I post this, I'm probably going to be in trouble with Becky Schroeder again. She's still waiting for me to make the Spotify playlist from the podcast, because now I have, 20 song suggestions from people. So I gotta get on that. But I will make sure that when the You Don't Know Schmidt podcast playlist is available on Spotify, and Apple Bottom Jeans will be definitely it's going to be the most eclectic playlist ever. I'm excited. I love it. Yeah, so
looking forward to that.
Yes. Well, this has been amazing. I'm so excited that we got some time together. I am looking forward to 2021, where hopefully we get to be like actually in person, and we're allowed to like hug and stuff like that, and stand closer together. But until then, oh my gosh, good luck with the start of school and everything with the business. And I know that we'll stay in touch. So I look forward to seeing all of the posts of your family and work adventures.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been
All right.
a pleasure.
Yes, we'll catch up again soon.